Hey everyone, this is Dr. Charlie Johnson, physical therapist. In today's video, I want to do something completely different, and I want to share with you a process that I am personally using and discovering to change my life. So most people, they'll comment below my video and say, hey Charlie, I want to know the exercise for X problem, all right? Hey, the information starts at 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Dr. Charlie eventually stops rambling and shares the exercise, right? And what I want you to understand from that is that you've completely missed the boat if that's what you're looking for when it comes to natural healing or really any change in your life. So I want to zoom on out today, again, and share a process that I'm using to change my life. And what I want you to understand is that it's not just the exercise that you're doing to move you closer to relief. It's part of it, but really it's understanding the process and putting routines and habits into place in your daily life to find change and permanent, long-lasting change, not just short-term relief from doing a few exercises. So with that being said, if you're in pain or you have problems, the first thing is that you have to have an awareness, right? You have to have an awareness of like, hey, something's not going right here, and you need to be ready to change. So there needs to be something inside of you that says, hey, I'm fed up with this, I've hit rock bottom, and I'm ready to do something about it. And truthfully, a lot of people in pain are aware of it, but they ignore it, right? So once you move past that and you're ready to change, understand that you're going to experience something I call the ultimate healing equation. A, so it's where you're at, plus B equals C. A is where you're at, C is where you want to be, right? And B is like the bridge or the gap between the two, right? And oftentimes people come to me to help them bridge that gap and get from point A to point B, really? And what I mean by that is that if you know where you're at, right, and you don't know where you're going, then you're going to have a tough time getting there. So it's like trying to book a flight without knowing the destination. So the first thing, if you're in pain or having problems, right, in life, is that you want to identify your Polaris or your North Star. That's basically where you want to end up. It could be having less pain. It could be making more money. It could be getting better sleep. Whatever it is, right, you want to identify that so then you can either get some help to get there or start to think through that process and develop strategies to help you get there. So I briefly want to share my personal story with you about how I sort of ended up where I am today and some of the struggles I've gone through. And then I want to reveal the process I'm using and discovering to get through it. So growing up, my life was super challenging. I came from a very broken family, multiple divorces. Mom was an alcoholic, and I really struggled, right? I knew that rather than going down the negative path, I knew that I wanted to do something big with my life. And for me, I was always interested in exercise, eating healthy, nutrition, all things like that. So I thought I wanted to go into personal training. And then I said, hey, nothing against that. I want to go bigger. So maybe I'll be an athletic trainer. And then what I realized is if I'm an athletic trainer, then I'll be away from my family. I'll be traveling all over the place, right? So then I thought, what the heck? Physical therapy. So, it led me down that path. I applied to PT schools. And what I realized is that it costed a heck of a lot of money. So I actually, through my high school career, became very close to my high school guidance counselor, and she co-signed my loans personally to get me into college. So point is that I came from very little. There were summers where I spent the night in tents out in neighbors' yards or random friends of my mother, just to get by, right? And I would shower at random people's houses on breaks back, holiday breaks, things like that. I would be staying with, basically strangers or friends of friends who were willing to take me in. So, a lot of uncomfortable, bad nights of sleep, a lot of anxiety and worry, and really just a lot of negative feedback. So if you're watching this video, how does it apply, right? So this is my pain point. I've never gone to physical therapy myself. I've had aches and pains because I was an athlete growing up. But, how can you relate to this? Well, if you've been in pain, right, then you understand that feeling of kind of hopelessness, suffering, right, anxiety, worry, eyeballs open at night trying to figure out how you're going to get out of this problem, right? And there's just a lot of negative energy around that, right? So it takes a lot to kind of turn that around. Not to mention, you've likely been told by many people all of the things that are wrong with you, right? So you're told that you're out of alignment, that you're weak, that you're inflexible, that you've got arthritis or a degenerative condition that is only going to get worse and worse, right? So you have a lot of negative energy, if you will. Sort of picture yourself walking around with a cloud above your head. This was me, not in the sense of having chronic pain, but in the sense of having, my mom tell me that I was never going to be a good dad, or that I was a loser, or that we grew up and we were broke, right? So money was something that was very scarce. So that was sort of the the energy that was floating above my head. But again, if you're in pain, it's what you've been told about your condition. It's, again, maybe some of the financial stress if you're not able to work because of your pain, right? So again, there's a lot of negative input in there. And one of the things that I had to do, which is obviously very difficult, is I'm in the process of trying to change all of that, right? Because obviously it impacts, if you have back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, you've had it for a while and you're watching this video, then it can impact your family life, right? So your relationships, how you perform at work, how you sleep. It can impact everything, your physical, mental, and emotional health. So while we try to do physical exercises, realize that there's more underneath the surface, right? So with that being said, there was a time where I played victim, right? Where I said, hey, this sucks. I just felt bad for myself. I was aware of the situation, and I thought I was ready to change, but really I wasn't. I just spoke negatively about myself. I just figured hey, I've just got some bad luck or something like that, right? So I've done that for years. But now I'm opening my eyes over the past year or so to what if there was a different way to move forward? A lot of times you've been in pain for a long time, mental, physical, or emotional, right? You create this baseline and you sort of define yourself by that, right? It can be really hard to break out of that. And it's difficult to see other possibilities, the way you can move forward, and that you're malleable, right? And that you could change and potentially create something new for yourself and new for your life, right? So what if there was a better way to do it? What if there was an alternative, a different way of thinking, right? And that's the process, and there is a proven process that I'm using to discover that. Really what I'm using is an 11-week program. It's called the Morning Fire program, all right? And what it is it's just that. It's based off best-selling books such as The Morning Miracle, The Power of Habit, Principles in the Timeless Book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right? And it's based off basically a 4-tiered approach of RISE. So RISE is, how do you set yourself up the night before if you're in pain, right? You're trying to get out of it. If you're trying to change the way you're thinking about things, right? How do you go to bed with positive thoughts and energy such that you can wake up and conquer the next day, right? How do you fight for your own health physically, right? Using exercise, nutrition, and then mental kind of exercises, right? To change the way you're thinking about things such that you can get closer to where you want to go. Love, right? So again, I didn't really love myself, and I still struggle with that sometimes, right? It's like, hey, am I worth being able to change? It sounds terrible, but I think we all struggle with it a bit, right? So how can I love myself, but then how can I be grateful for? I used to be jealous of, right, my wife or my friends because of what they had and what I didn't. So if you're in pain and you're looking around and be like, hey, that must be nice, you don't have back pain, right? The point is that could we change that? And instead, could we move